Welcome back, everyone. It's been a great morning so far. Here's another fantastic company. Happy to present Aurus Technologies. It has 4 tokens, AWG, AWS, and AWP, and they're backed by 1 gram of gold, silver, and platinum, respectively. AWX is a revenue-sharing token that entitles its holders to a portion of the revenues generated from AWG, AWS, and AWP. Today, we have with us the Director of Institutional Markets, Jonathan Boyd. Now, everyone, lots of questions out there. Please submit your questions for specifically Aurus Technologies, and let us know what company you are with. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you, Anna. Yeah, lovely to be here with you.
All right, we look forward to hearing your presentation. The floor is yours.
Great. Well, I'll go right ahead then. Hi, everybody. So thanks for the introduction. Actually got most of the key things out the way there. Aurus, as it says, we're empowering precious metals. So what we do is very simply, we're an open platform, right, for the financial and precious metals industry to tokenize metals, as Anna mentioned, and for these partners to access new sources of yields and revenues. So accessing new users and accessing new areas of ongoing passive revenue streams. It's kind of like the Shopify of digital precious metals. So Aurus Technologies is actually the software provider, and we facilitate this whole ecosystem. As it says, we're a UK company, and we use blockchain technology to empower the traditional precious metals industry with blockchain-based products. Moving on to the team, I know that's always very important. Our management team is made up of a nice, diverse financial professionals, as well as blockchain experts. Our managing director is, serial entrepreneur with a lot of experience in mining and precious metals industry. Our technology team is run by Dan, who is a blockchain lead in a big development firm and manages all the technology for Aurus. Mark comes from a fixed income trading background, and myself, advocate and passionate crypto investor, but also with a traditional financial and wealth management background. So we've got a really nice blend of finance and blockchain experts in our team, which I think is very important, right, to understand where we sit as Aurus Technologies, right in the middle of a traditional precious metals industry, which goes back many, many years, and obviously a burgeoning and new industry, which is, blockchain technology. We also have a very, I would say, experienced advisory board. Tony is a veteran in the precious metals industry. It opens many doors in that market. I was actually director of one of the largest gold refineries, Baird & Co, for many years, and has been on the World Gold Council as well. Jason ran the GLD or Gold Shares ETF, some of you may know, and was at the helm, taking that up to, I think, more than 80 billion of assets under management. So very experienced in the ETF industry and gold, and now founding a number of crypto companies, and has actually applied for a Bitcoin ETF as well. So some fantastic advice coming there. Rex is very experienced in the trading side of things, and Grant we brought on because he ran a lot of large mining companies for many years. So the team is very important, and we've strengthened that team somewhat over the last year or so. Let's start with some of the problems. So we look at the precious and traditional precious metals industry and some of the issues they face, which is quite a tight margins business in the gold and silver platinum market, particularly gold, if we refer to that mainly. And precious metals businesses are always looking for areas to increase revenues. And now with this advancement of new technology, they also face the risk of an outdated business model. We also have a lot of financial institutions and investors, right, holding precious metals, but as they refer to them, kind of dusty assets or lazy assets, right? You use them to protect and store your wealth, and you're still paying high storage costs on them, or at least you still have a cost of owning those assets, with no ability really to earn a yield off of those assets. And there is a lack of expertise and technology leaving these businesses disconnected from the opportunities to enhance these revenues and update their business models. So where do we come in? Well, Aurus is empowering the precious metals market. So as I mentioned, we're an open platform for precious metals businesses to obviously offer new products and services to their client base, update their business model, also to access new distribution channels. And as I said, we sit in the middle of obviously traditional precious metals market and the cryptocurrency market, which is what we use for settlement, fiat on and off ramps. But we provide this infrastructure for the precious metals players and bullion brokers to actually sell their metals in other ways. And we tokenize these to allow them to sell on these exchanges as well. From that, you can actually then earn an ongoing passive revenue stream. Now, I'll come back to that in a minute. So the product and its benefits, really, we're a B2B2C company where our main focus is onboarding bullion brokers, financial institutions, bullion banks, providers of metals, let's call them that, who would then use our software to tokenize these metals. Aurus does not sell any metals. We just facilitate the software and the infrastructure and the network we've created. These brokers would tokenize these metals and can either sell through their website. We provide them with the easy onboarding and APIs to do so, so they can access and give new products to their existing clients, but they can also now access new users looking to, buy metals in a different form, right? And also buy metals from a very small amount. Each one of our tokens is 1 gram equals 1 token, whether that's gold, silver, or platinum, and is 100% backed by that metal, which is held in audited and insured vaults. These vaults are onboarded by Aurus, have been vetted. The processes and the custody reports and all the auditing process have to be vetted, so they have to be within our network of vaults, or at least approved vaults. So we provide our bullion brokers with that ability to open up these markets. As Aurus, we also have auxiliary products, like a mobile app, which will be launching over the next 4 to 6 weeks. It would be a software wallet, which is secure. Anyone around the world can now access from a gram of precious metals, whether they have $50 or $500 million, to buy gold, silver, and platinum in token form through the app directly and store them safely in the app. In further versions and launches of our app, you'll be able to access interest-bearing products, generate sort of loans and lending and borrowing platforms. So the app is going to be a one-stop shop for precious metals. There's also some other products like a cold storage card, which you can store your precious metals on offline, and that can also be linked to your app as well. So what we do is we bring on these brokers, and we also build the products for them to onboard users easily. Our other product, which I said I'd come back to, and it's the 4th token. As Anna mentioned earlier, we have 4 tokens: AWG, which is linked to gold, AWS linked to silver, and AWP linked to platinum. Our 4th token is the Aurus DeFi, or AWX token. Now, this is our utility token. For anyone who knows anything about sort of most crypto projects have a utility token, and they have 2 main functions, or ours has 2 main functions. One for governance rights and for voting abilities. So you actually, if you're an owner of that token, you can vote on future board members for the Aurus Association, which will be like the World Gold Council, but for precious metals and digital precious metals, should I say. So you have the ability to vote on the direction of the company, but you also have, as a holder of Aurus DeFi, you can claim rewards that are generated through the transactions in gold, silver, and platinum tokens globally on peer-to-peer or through exchanges, in swaps, on decentralized exchanges, on lending and borrowing platforms, and DeFi, which I'll get into now. So Aurus DeFi gives you voting rights, and it allows you to earn revenues, or at least rewards that are generated by the overall Aurus ecosystem. Kind of like a fixed income product that pays its dividends in precious metals. We all know with the macro environment out there, stores of value are extremely important to have in your portfolio, and this market for precious metals is getting even more and more attractive now, especially with the trillions and trillions of dollars that have been printed that's just devaluing most of the stores of value that the US dollar has actually provided investors for a long time now. So they need to look at alternative ways to save and protect and grow their wealth as well. Our revenue model, as I mentioned earlier, any partners that join the Aurus ecosystem, so bullion providers, they provide the metals, they tokenize that, they can sell that. There's transaction fees that are generated. There's also an initial tokenization fee to obviously vet providers bringing tokens on through the auditing process. And these fees are collected. They are then distributed to bullion providers, right, to offset some of their vaulting costs that they incur, and then to obviously provide passive revenue streams for them. And as I mentioned, for AWX holders, they also are able to claim some of these rewards, which are paid to them in gold, silver, and platinum. So it's a self-sustaining ecosystem where we're actually now sharing the revenues, and users are able to share in the success of the ecosystem, rather than in a traditional kind of exchange, as we're all quite familiar with equities, or maybe sort of centralized crypto exchanges, which work quite similarly. The exchange makes the revenue, and the market maker makes the revenue, and everyone else just takes a price. Whereas this, you're actually distributing a lot of that value to holders and allowing anyone to join, right? The Aurus ecosystem is open for the very small investor to a very large, sophisticated investor as well. The market size and opportunity, always interesting to look at, but it's obviously no home run here. There's a lot of precious metals out there, and from a bars and coins perspective, over $2 trillion. It's all good to say we want to disrupt or we want to capture 1% of this market, but that actually means nothing. We've got to see how we're going to take one user and what one user actually means to the ecosystem, and we'll get into that a little bit later. The cryptocurrency market is growing. It's just under 2 trillion at the moment, but is going to grow. It's a burgeoning market. It's going to be one of the greatest asset classes, in my opinion, and regulation will grow around that, but it's here to stay. There's a lot of stable coins, which are fiat backed as well. Gold, silver, and platinum are actually backed by real assets, so that provides a lot of value to investors. So we can disrupt a bit of that market too. ETFs, we all know ETFs, how they operate, often not able to redeem the actual underlying precious metals that they hold, depending on how much is paper traded assets versus physical. You can't actually send a piece of your ETF to someone else in another country. I can't make a payment with it. I can't actually take that piece of ETF and split it up and fractionalize it, whereas with tokenized precious metals you can. But there is another big market there. DeFi is growing. That is obviously really just software where, like financial Lego blocks, if I may, which you can build on top of, where lending, borrowing programs, providing collateral with your precious metals because they hold an underlying value. There's a lot less volatility in them, less risk of obviously margin calls, and we're seeing a lot of demand for lending and borrowing products with precious metals as collateral. I'll expand a little bit further then. So there is a huge opportunity and a huge market. In terms of DeFi, as I mentioned, I like to think of it as sort of Lego blocks of the finance system, where it's really open source funds and people can come and build interesting products on top of each other without having to rely on an intermediary or like the traditional market where banks generally are in the middle, or asset managers for that matter. There's always going to be a part for that, and the industry will always need that. But this is a new area where it's democratizing, and sometimes I don't like using that word, but it really is. It's allowing the very small man to a very large investor or institution to all participate fairly and openly in in generating further value and generating further wealth for themselves. Now, in DeFi, we're seeing this explode over the last 2 years up to, I think it's about 100 to 140 billion now, depending on some of the asset prices underlying that are locked in DeFi protocols, so locked in these financial platforms. If we look at the growth over the last few years and project that forward over the next 5 years, it's going to grow into a massive industry. Now, there's a few million users there now. We want to unlock a lot of that value using underlying precious metals as a much more stable base for these financial products that anyone can then build upon, versus a lot of the crypto products that are out there now, albeit some actually add some value and solve some problems, but not all. A lot will die, and a lot is speculative, whereas we want to actually start building on top of real assets with real underlying value and actually protect investors in that way too. Our growth strategy, I'll just touch on that briefly. We have, as I said, we're B2B2C, so we want to target our retail consumers through our brokers and getting more brokers onboarded where we can access their thousands of users that they already have, rather than trying to get one by one. Hence, developing the app allows them to go to market to their users with, a usable product. We could then leverage their user bases and obviously their distribution already. As I mentioned, we would deliver sort of products like our mobile app, an easy to use business partner dashboard where they can mint tokens easily, see all their transactions, distribute tokens to their clients, and also interact with the DeFi protocols as well. We have POS devices where we will start testing payments with the card using gold and silver, and we'll choose strategic locations to try and build a hub where users can top up crypto on those cards, but also pay with it. That will come down the line in our roadmap. We also want to access high net worths because, there's a lot of opportunity there, and a lot of more sophisticated investors who have already made their wealth, made their money, and are sitting on a lot of gold and other precious metals, paying costs on those. And if they can join the ecosystem, they can find a way to obviously earn ongoing revenue streams on that and offset those costs, and then start to earn a further yield and further profit on those metals as well. And providing them now with easier ways to unlock, the value of precious metals in DeFi and start to earn a yield on these dusty assets. So our user acquisition plus our enhanced usability through the products we're developing should add to the transaction volume, which is the ultimate driver of the revenue to bullion providers and to Aurus holders, or Aurus DeFi, our AWS token holders. We've already got a lot of partners on board. We leverage our user base of partners, which I mentioned. We have over 25 partners globally with about 6 active bullion distributors now. We're onboarding another 2 or 3 in the next month. Over 3 continents with metals vaulted in 6 countries. Our tokens are listed on 5 exchanges, and the metals market cap has grown by more than 50% year on year. We have funded our growth through AWS token sales thus far with over $1 million raised. We're currently in a fundraising stage now, and I'm currently speaking to investors through a second round of token sales. There's always competition. We don't like to look at the traditional precious metals market as being the competition, because we're not providing a centralized solution where we buy all the metals and we provide the price and one place of storage like a lot of other kind of tokenized gold projects. We have an open sourced distribution model where the bullion brokers actually tokenize their own metals and sell that through the infrastructure we set up. So we're working with the precious metals industry. Anybody can join, anybody can benefit, which is a big differentiator to a lot of our competitors out there in the tokenized gold markets, or at least tokenized precious metals markets. We also are one of the first to bring silver to the blockchain, and I believe platinum too. So we're providing revenue and yield generation, products and services for everybody, industry acceptance through our partnerships with the World Gold Council, with other partners like Metals Daily, with our execs and their connections in the precious metals market industry, who are talking about Aurus and see this as a partner rather than a competitor. And as I mentioned earlier, all the gold and silver and bullion is secured in audited and insured vaults and frequently audited. So just to summarize again, what sets us apart, very interesting in terms of the market making and the price discovery on the precious metals tokens. There's always going to be arbitrage opportunities between physical bullion, because we have actually physical bullion providers, and the digital products, which will arbitrage that to a median price always. So there's always a self-regulating price mechanism within the marketplace. If someone's charging too high a price on their tokens, they'll go elsewhere because there's multiple partners that are selling the same fungible product. We have a very experienced team. We have easy-to-use products. And we also have a reward sharing token, the AWS Aurus DeFi token as well, which differentiates us a lot from our competitors. In terms of some of the financial projections over the next 5 years, we're looking to grow the market cap to $1 billion of precious metals. We're looking to get that to about 50 million by the end of the year in terms of total in gold, silver, and platinum. We have looked at some very conservative figures of trading volume on a daily basis of about starting off at 2%, and that would scale up over the next 2.5 years to about 4%, and then 2.5 years after that to 6%, and the next 2.5 years in a 10-year frame up to about 8% trading volume of the total market cap per day. Currently, if you look at a stable coin, well-distributed, maybe that's linked to the US dollar, like Tether, that can be anywhere from 40 to 100% of transaction volume daily. Some of the gold token projects are around the 8 to 12% mark as well. So we still feel we're quite conservative in that space. And if we provide the on-ramps and the ability for people to trade the gold-silver ratio, to trade against other interesting asset pairs, 24/7 swaps, providing lending and borrowing, and putting collateral up for loans, I think that transaction volume can increase quite rapidly. So our projections are quite conservative. From an AWS token, this is how investors can invest in the future of Aurus and our ecosystem. The expected revenues, if we just look on a base case where precious metals prices will go with an average rate of inflation of about 2% a year over the next 5 years, each AWS token could be earning around $1 of gold, silver, and platinum, because the rewards are paid to AWS holders in gold, silver, and platinum tokens, which is great. It's like a savings account in precious metals, or like I mentioned earlier, like a fixed income product that pays dividends in precious metals. The roadmap is growing. You can look at that on our website. We're looking to currently raise through our AWS token sales of about $3 million for the next phase of growth, for exchange listings, for front-running some liquidity on exchanges to increase those liquidity pairs and the liquidity for traders to get in and out. Obviously, tech developments, marketing and PR are so important, and obviously growing the team further. That's all for me, and look forward to some questions.
Great job, Jonathan. We do have some questions for you in a little bit of time. So Terry Clark wants to know, is Aurus the controller of all 4 tokens mentioned?
So in terms of controller, I'm just going to assume that you mean, do we control maybe the precious metals? I think I mentioned earlier that we have designed the blockchain infrastructure for bullion brokers to tokenize their own metals. So they would allocate their own metals through an audit and a custody process to the vault. If it's already in a vault in our network, they would tokenize that to token form and receive those tokens. The metals is held in the vaults, and these providers can now sell those metals or use them in the ecosystem. Aurus does not sell or provide any metals. The only token that we have is our utility token, the AWX, which is pre-mined and pre-minted at 30 million. There'll only be ever 30 million. And if you want to get more details on that, you can see that on our website. But yeah.
Thank you. Anthony Fitzgerald wants to know, how does the company generate revenues? And Aurus is a gold token exchange. I think he just wants some clarification on that. Okay.
Aurus is a software provider, and we've built the infrastructure, which includes exchanges. So that can be centralized exchanges. You might be familiar with a Coinbase or a Binance. We also are on decentralized exchanges. We are just the software provider and the facilitator of the overall infrastructure. These tokens are fungible and are freely tradable on exchanges, and bullion brokers can actually allocate this to exchanges to sell and for users to trade with. Users can also buy these tokens, which is arguably buying precious metals from our network of bullion distributors, and also on the exchanges that they are listed on.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification. Kyle Harmon wants to know, what are the metals stored? Where are the metals stored? That is the backing for the tokens.
So the metals are stored with Aurus partnered vaults that can be Brinks UK, who's obviously a global vaulting partner. We have metals stored in Switzerland, Malka Amit, Loomis, Kitco Metals. Provided they obviously meet our strict standards and criteria, they can be onboarded. It also depends on which providers join our ecosystem and who they are vaulting with at that point in time. But yes, obviously only accredited and approved vaults who join the Aurus ecosystem.
Chris Klein wants to know, how do you control the relationship between the number of grams of a metal in storage and the amount of tokens for a specific metal that are issued? And is this always a 1-to-1 ratio?
Good question, yeah. So for example, let's just use gold, for example. It works exactly the same with silver and platinum. If you've got a 1 kilogram bar and you tokenize it, you would get issued with 1,000 tokens of AWG. So 1 gram will always equal 1 token of AWG for silver, AWS, AWP. If you did a 10 kilo bar, you would get 10,000 tokens from that. And there is a master contract for each bar, which is the ERC7, where the tokens are minted on the Ethereum network, which are ERC 721 contracts for the master contract, which is a non-fungible token, and that is fractionalized down into the ERC20 contract, which is the fungible token, which is 1 gram equals 1 token, if that makes sense to him.
Hopefully it does to him. Tara Anderson wants to know, are these tokens somehow connected to the current price per ounce of a specific metal? Maybe clarifying on that again, or is it based on supply and demand as the token trades?
Yes, so the metals are linked very closely to the price and trade around an index price of spot gold, silver, and platinum.
Okay. Doug Kennedy wants to know, are your tokens trading on Coinbase? And if not, which exchanges are they?
They are not trading on Coinbase currently. That would be a step down the line. We will be looking at that once we grow and we expand. We are currently trading on CEX, which is a very regulated exchange in the UK, has global access, on Whitebit and on Beaky for our utility token, as well as some decentralized exchanges, QuickSwap on the Polygon network.
And last question from Cole Patel. Is it safe to say that you have one of the few tokens backed by an actual asset? How much competition do you have in this space?
Yeah, the tokens are backed by real assets. You know, each token is backed by the underlying physical metals. Up to a minimum of 1 kilo, you can actually redeem that physical metal as well. So you know that there is real metals behind it. There are a few competitors always, which is good and healthy. Quite a few gold token projects. But, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I think what differentiates us is the revenue share and the reward share to holders of our utility token, plus the self-regulating price mechanism between the physical and the digital, and also the fact that we work with the global precious metals market as partners rather than competitors with our own centralized solution.
Well, it's fascinating technology, Jonathan. Thank you so much for presenting with us, and we hope you come back with some updates in the future.
Anna, thank you very much for your time.
All right. Everyone stay with us as we transition to the next presenter. We'll be right back.